Welcome to Who Dares Rolls. I'm Charlie Etheridge Nunn, and it's time to ramble about role-playing. So, it's been a little while since I've done one of these. I've done a couple of unboxings, a bunch of things Mike's not put up yet. He is a busy man, and I'm far too infrequent in posting these. So, I thought I'd have a quick catch-up on a few different things. So, first of all, what have I been playing? I'm actually reaching the finale of a number of campaigns at the moment. My weekly group are almost done with a game of Spire. We went from one of the one-shots, where they had to break into a prison to break a null serial killer out of a prison for reasons, then a campaign starter, and then another one-shot, and now we're doing another campaign starter. This has been quite a lengthy game for me, at least, as most of my campaigns tend to be pretty short these days. Spire, in case you're not aware, is a game by Grant Howitt and Christopher Taylor. It's a kind of dark, grimy, dystopian dark elf drama. You're in a mile, in theory, but it changes, high city, and it used to be yours. It used to be a drow city, and the elves came, and the elves conquered, and now the elves rule it with an iron fist. They kind of, at least the ones that we're dealing with at the moment, kind of have that Sander Cohen from BioShock vibe. They love nature as long as they can tame it and make it theirs. They've installed having sunlights and I've lost the word for it. Windows all over the upper floors of Spire, and they shine down light which would burn the drow. But they only countenance the light, the elves do, if they change it, if they use their stained glass. They like plants, but only if they can modify the plants. It's an interesting setting, the kind of resistance that you have against the elves. Like, they do their best to show how much they're a bunch of cunts, and it's been impressive, actually, seeing the brutality of them, but also the actions the players have done. They're part of a resistance cell, one who would burn them if they get exposed, who would destroy their families, their friends, anything to stop the elves finding out about the resistance cells, about any kind of leads to those in charge. So they're between a rock and a hard place a bit, but there is a definite evil in the elves, in the way in which they do things, the way in which they treat everything. So at the moment, we're just at the end of the Eye of the Beholder campaign frame. It's part of the Strata sourcebook, and the idea is there's an elf artist who likes to modify and, in her eyes, improve drow servants. This means that she will surgically alter them, changing them so they're perpetually always grinning or always looking wistful. She will mentally change a lot of them. Some it's simply through kind of bullying indoctrination methods. A lot of them believe they genuinely can't do better than being her servants, and others are kept kind of drugged and stored as mannequins, statues, puppets, even furniture. So the group, they started out with this one feeling a little awkward about planning a frankly horrible murder of this artist, because they can't just kill her. They need to make sure to set an example that no one will ever do this again. It's brutal. It can can feel sometimes a bit emotionally taxing and emotionally tiring, but it's definitely worth it. And the humour laced through Spire and its world helps keep that tone from getting too much, too pervasive, too daunting. I know with my group, we do want to finish our Night Witches campaign, but that was one where it was a case of us being like, well, we need some time away from Night Witches. Like, we all love Night Witches, but we've only got so much emotions that we can feel towards such a traumatic story. So it's been really interesting. We've had a few weeks where there have been cancellations, and that's hitting me at a point where I'm beginning to feel a little fatigued, a little like, come on, hit the finale already. Want to finish this, want to dive into the next thing, because I'm preparing a Rhapsody of Blood campaign next, and I'll talk about that when I'm actually playing it. So there's that. There's Deadlands, which is also finishing. In fact, this Thursday coming up, as of the time of filming, we're hopefully having our last session. It's been really good fun. I'd show you the boxes, but they're currently pinning a camera in place and my monitor in place. So, we've been playing the Horror on Headstone Hill, which is a wonderful sandbox game. And this version of Deadlands, the Savage Worlds Adventure Edition, I've been really liking mechanically. It's got that real pulpy vibe. It's very swingy in the way in which it deals with dice rolls and exploding dice, which are one of my favourite things with dice. But it's still got enough narrative leeway, and it's got bennies, which are benefits, I think. Basically just get you points for doing stuff, doing cool things, doing bad puns, which I rewarded one of them for at the start of a campaign, and I set a precedent. I think I mainly give them for bad puns right now. But yeah, I've been in other games. I've been in games like Spire and wanted some kind of little reward like bennies that I can hand out because the group have just wowed and impressed me. The Deadlands group have been really good fun. Some of them are a bit more rare or sporadic role players, where they've only really played with this group, but they've dug into it. I want to do a whole separate video on Deadlands, probably once the campaign's wrapped, where I'll get a bit more into that. But Horror on Headstone Hill I definitely recommend as an adventure to try out. It's kind of like a sandbox Fallout or any kind of Bethesda open world game. You've got a main quest line, and I guess the way it deviates from games like Skyrim is they actually do the main quest line, but you've got that. You've got several plot hooks. We must have touched maybe half, maybe, possibly a little over, a little under. And it's really good at signposting a lot of them. And a lot of them are just, oh, that's our evening's fun, that side quest. Oh, okay, we'll do that. And then we'll get advancements and move on to the next area. We'll, go from town to town in the course of the main adventure, but pick up on all these rumours and these plot seeds. And it's really nice, especially for me as a normally very improv-heavy GM, a quite lazy GM, frankly, but that's because I like my workload in the moment in the game rather than spending weeks preparing a game. I personally don't believe I should put in more energy length prep-wise than the length of the session for each session, and a lot of the time I can just put it on a post-it note. I mean, that's blank. That's pretty much my notes for tonight's game. So yes, there's that, and I've got the finale of a Blades in the Dark campaign tonight, which good luck future me finding your notes, but this video is kind of partially me putting that off right now. So the only other thing that I'd say from recent plays is Nova. And Nova is it's kind of a very light RPG that replicates looter shooters, games like Destiny and Warframe. And personally, I've not played either. Don't know a huge amount about either, aside from bits and pieces that I've seen in videos online. But I've been playing a lot of Halo for my sins. It's very daft, but very good fun. And I got a kind of Borderlands-y vibe with a lot of the looter shooter elements. So I went into it knowing big, dumb, shoot things, big action. We were missing a player this Monday for the Spire game, and it was really good fun. It was really stupid, but really good fun. Character abilities were fascinating. We had one guy who would run out his fuel, his kind of the fuel for his personal powers by taking shots, kind of like hip firing at things, challenging people to duels. The moment he ran out, he would shut down, which normally you only do when you lose all of your health. And that would make him go into supernova mode, where he'd just go into bullet hell, firing at everything. It was glorious. We had another guy who was playing a class called the Pox, who poison enemies. So the moment you go into a fight, go, you, giant bird, you're poisoned now. And again, when he gets shut down, he makes all of them explode, or he can keep the infection travelling and getting worse and giving people bonuses for attacking those people. It was... I'm not a huge tactical RPG guy. I'm not a massive combat over everything else person, but sometimes you just need that daft fun. And it was really good fun. And for a group who've been going through a lot of really fraught espionage at the moment with planning their terrible murder in Spire, it was a breath of fresh air. So hopefully when we short players again, or maybe even at the end of the campaign, just a palate cleanser before Rhapsody of Blood, I want to show them all Nova, because it's definitely one to check out and one that I really, really enjoyed. So that's it for what we've played. I have some treats to show off. Two of these are from a friend of mine, Graham, who was my first proper GM. So this is the Lighthouse at the End of the Universe. It comes in this lovely little envelope that I've had for a little while now, and I've wanted to show off on video, and I've just not got round to it. He backed this on Kickstarter for Zine Quest 2021, and he backed it to a level where he'd get a second copy and sent this to me. And I love the look of this envelope. I knew that it was going to be something special to open up, and figured I'd do that on camera. So let's have a quick unwrapping. I guess unwrapping. Oh. Okay. So. Oh, it's a lovely sticker. I'm going to tear around the sticker. This, all the way from Australia, is the Lighthouse at the end of the Edge of the Universe. This is a solo game that you play when you're going to sleep. So, as you can see here, it's by Ella Lim, who has done a couple of other things I think I've got. So yes, the Lighthouse was an ordinary structure, except for the fact that it was balanced on the very edge of the universe. One would expect the edge of the universe to end dramatically, but instead it fragments into little pieces until there's nothing left. It is on one of these fragmenting pieces that the lighthouse perches precariously on. No one knows when the lighthouse was built. Some speculate it has been there since the universe began. Maintained by a solitary keeper, it has guided ships, and kept travellers away from the edge of the universe. I won't read all of it, but let's just have a quick skim. So, as it says here, best played at night before you go to sleep or when you can't sleep. Now, I have, much to my shame, given I'm in a house full of coffee drinkers, been trying to switch to decaf in the evenings. Because, I've been having some trouble sleeping. And I've played Meg Baker's games to play while you're falling asleep a couple of times, and those have been nice. I'm not entirely sure how this is going to go, given I also don't want to bother my partner while doing this, but I'm still very intrigued as I'm a fan of a good solo game, which any of you who remember us from our more kind of written days will remember we had our playing with ourselves kind of subgrouping in Who Dares Rolls. And actually I have a couple of things I want to add to that, but I'll get there in time. So you need some cards, you need a coin, I believe you need a dice, but it looks like it's going to be a fairly chilled game to play. And it's even got a mini game about beachcombing at the edge of the universe. Which again, draw cards to see what you find. And this. Now, I'll admit I had a digital version, but I kind of want to try it using the physical one because I'd rather not have the glare of the iPad while I try and do this. But this I'm going to print out and build rather than mutilating the book, at least for now. So, that's the Lighthouse at the Edge of the Universe. A beautiful little package. I'll let you know what I find there. So, my second thing is in this envelope. Now, Graham, as I said, is my first GM. I'd been running games since December 93, so I am unfortunately very old. But in doing so, I did find myself occasionally frustrated with my players, and I saw another group on the side. I had a group run by some people I played games like Magic and Five Rings with. And two of them, Gary and Graham, suggested, why don't I go along to their game? And it was amazing how different it was. Playing with mostly people younger than me, and none of us had known role-playing games. None of us were part of any kind of community. So we just went into it in a mad, chaotic dash. We didn't really know, we were basically a bunch of 13 to 10 or 11-year-old boys. So yeah, there was a level of violence. And it was fun, but it was really refreshing when I hit 20 and going over to Gary and Graham's group. My lot were still, about 17, 18 at the time. So still fairly a fairly chaotic mess, and playing games like Cyberpunk 2020. I played AD&D. It was my first time being a player in a Dungeons and Dragons game, and I hid my character sheets in my pocket. Even so, during one of the scraps, I think, my AD&D character fell out of a pocket, and one of my weekly group found it, and there was a level of sense of betrayal that I'd been in another group, and then a level of horror that one of the group who hated paladins saw. Not only was I a paladin, but I was a character with a slightly higher strength than his. But ever since then, Graham and I have kept in touch. We mainly see each other at conventions, or at least we did in the before times, and hopefully we'll do so again at UK Games Expo. And we've taken to calling and chatting every weekend. One of the things we've been planning on doing is playing a game called Starforged. This is a solo role-playing game, kind of. It's solo or GM-less, or GM'd. The default way of playing it, though, is no GM and having either solo or kind of collaborative play in this very sci-fi, very like bits of Mass Effect, bits of Mandalorian kind of vibe world. It's a spin-off from a game called Ironsworn, and similarly in this you swear oaths, you go out questing, you discover things, and it's got a really interesting, really robust looking system. I've yet to play it, but I'm most of the way through reading the book, and Graham is an industrious person. If you've ever seen me writing about Fiasco, or seen any of my posts, or actually been in any of my games of Fiasco, you will have seen a kit he put together as a Fiasco in a box before the official Fiasco in a box happened. And here we have a player journal for Starforged and several smaller player journals. So I know he posted this on the subreddit for Ironsworn, but just a little show off of what you can do with these kind of RPG crafting and using your resources. This is the truths about the world. Maps of sectors. Now, these aren't stuck in because you're going to find different sectors. Here's your character sheet. You've got names, pronouns, call sign, characteristics, and a background vow. We've not made them for a two-player game that we're going to do, but I've had a bit of a play of character creation myself. It's really good fun, actually, just the act of creation. One thing that Starforge does reiterate to the player is prep is play, which is good because there will be an amount of that, especially when it's multiple players, just talking. Just say, okay, well, what do we think about this sector? What do we think about this place? And in belonging outside belonging games, like Wander Home back there, it includes a term called idle dreaming. I forget if Wander Home itself does, but a lot of them do. And that's where the hypothetical conversations about what's on this planet, it's a desert planet, but I also rolled ruins. What is that? Why is that there? This forest planet. Okay, you got some alien creatures, but what are they up to? That is still part of play. And, I mean, it always was. But this is actually codifying it. And in this, making a character, figuring out who they are, whether that's solo or as a group. This is all an interesting part of it. So you've got your background stuff, your stats, quests, bonds, and discoveries, which are very important. And then the XP lines down here, which will allow you to get extra bits for your character. You have momentum, which will modify your rolls. Health, spirit, and supply, which will go up and down. Your impacts, which are kind of like conditions in Masks or any other similar game. Starting sector, because we're going to start somewhere. Locations within there. And I believe, that's it for that. I have myself a sheet of different quests or different kind of tasks. And what I'm going to do is the rest of this, I'm going to be journaling my adventure, and I will literally stick in the adventures as I go. Covers all laminated. It's all very pretty. And this is an example of what you might swear on. Now, these littler books are similarly little guides that can be used. So if we tag in someone else, or if I'm running this at a con or demoing it, these can be handed out. Forget if it sent me the PDF, but it's also going to be usable to print out and do for games at places like the Dice Saloon, where I do fortnightly one-shots to demo different indie RPGs. So, those are the big treats, but I'm normally an indie RPG guy, and I prefer to talk about those rather than games like D&D, because it takes up 90% of the oxygen in our space anyway. But if you want the big YouTube bucks, if you want all the big subscribers, anything like that, you need to sell out. So I have some Dungeons and Dragons content. Yep. Dungeons and Dragons nerds. Apparently this is a thing. As a chunky, short nerd child, I used to get nerds quite a lot and enjoyed them. And they are Dungeons and Dragons now. Because, get anything and make it 5e, I guess. I've no idea what they're like. They're a candy rainbow, which is always nice. So yeah, I'm going to try some of them. I don't think I've tried them ever as an adult. Now, the Dungeons and Dragons content are these adventurers and this mimic, and apparently an adventure. You need to send it with a picture with a receipt showing my purchase. Now, the problem is, I never think to get a receipt. This was just in a Sainsbury's. So, oh my god. I was going to eat some on air. They are just going to go everywhere. Like, how does one eat these? Like, how did I eat these as a child? Alright, well, got a little bowl that I often use for components. I'm just going to chug, I guess. Just smell of sugar and colouring, which, don't get me wrong, those are two of my favourite things, but oh dear. It does taste very much like it smells there. Sugar, colouring. And what, 1996 or 1998? That's what it brings out. Of like, yeah. Gives a very nostalgic feeling. Hopefully a bit of a buzz of sugar for preparing my blades in the dark notes. Right. Anyway, that's me showing off some shit. Finally, time for a couple of bits of news. I don't have a huge amount, actually. As of airing, we are 3 or 4 days away from Yaziba's Bed and Breakfast being on Indiegogo, which is going to be really interesting. It's a game by Jay Dragon from Wonder Home, although Jay has also got a number of collaborators helping with this. It's from Possum Creek Games. And the idea is that Yaziba's Bed and Breakfast is a story about a group of people who live and work, and some of the guests there. But it's a book which becomes increasingly like a legacy game. You have stickers to put into it, and certain chapters will unlock as the story goes on. Even different forms of some of the characters. So, Hey Kid is one of the people there. And as they progress, they'll have different XP tracks, different kind of progression tracks than other people, and when they hit a certain point, they will unlock the character of Hayteen instead, because they'll have grown up a bit. The same goes for a robot who's going to have some programming, all sorts of stuff like that, which is pretty cool. I've yet to play a Possum Creek game, but Sleepaway looks really good. Wander Home is on my big list of games that I want to play this year. I am desperate to get it over to the table, and yeah, hopefully I'll get to soon. The other big Kickstarter that I knew was going to be happening, or not Kickstarter necessarily now because of reasons, but crowdfunding campaign is Brindlewood Bay, which I'm sure I've spoken about before, but I adore the idea of Brindlewood Bay. It's a Murder, She Wrote meets Shadow Over Innsmouth type game where you play a book group of old retirees, all these old ladies who love mystery novels and coincidentally also occasionally solve murders. That's coming out later this year now. I will be making noises closer to it coming out. If you have a look online for that and sign up to get notifications when it launches, we'll probably have that in the show notes somewhere. But it's definitely worth doing. It's the kind of game where I love a mystery game. I love mysteries, I love heists, and this is one that made me reframe how I think about a lot of mystery games. So definitely worth having a look at that one. The only other things I can think of news-wise are there have been a couple of massive bundles on itch.io recently. The tabletop RPGs for trans rights, given how things have been going in Texas specifically, but I am on Turf Island, so yeah, I get that times are tough and any kind of support that can be done for trans folks is good. So the bundle, TTRPG for trans rights, is still going until the 3rd of April. Hopefully Mike will get this up and online before then, but it's definitely worth checking out. As of the 19th of March, I believe it's the 19th, it's made $359,000, which is about $273,000 in pounds. So that's been really good. It's an incredible bundle, but also for a really good cause. Then there was also the bundle for Ukraine, which has just ended, and that reached $6.3 million, or 4.8 in slightly tarnished British pounds. I'm not quite sure how great they are now, but 4.8 million pounds is still pretty awesome. There are other companies who are also helping out, doing any kind of support towards causes in or based around aid in Ukraine. So Freely Publishing, Modifius, Pelgrain, all have discounted stock, which they're also then pledging to put amounts from over to various different causes. Drive-Through RPG has a number of bundles. There's a lot out there. So that's been really nice, seeing different RPG companies providing any kind of support and solidarity any way they can. That's it for me. I've been seeing these and I keep looking at them and going, I shouldn't have more. Inevitably, I will have more. Anyway, that's it from me. Hopefully, it'll be a lot sooner the next time I get one of these out to you all. If you like this, hit the like. If you don't like this, please also hit the like. Make sure to subscribe to us. If you are feeling really generous, you could always go to our Patreon and kick in a bit of money. It will hopefully make this slightly less bad quality. And yeah, check out our site, whodasrolls.com. There's Mike's videos for board games, mine for RPGs, and a number of lovely written articles out there. I'll see you soon.